How many kids did you save?
Oh wow! Oh wow! It's so difficult to say because the main people are the guys who work at the NGOs, and they've been doing it for 15, 20 years. You know, and for them, they just do it. It's what they know. I think that the misconception is that only celebrities can help, and that only someone who has lots of fame can help. That's not true. Every single person can help.
And action.
I have often heard that when you do what you love, success will follow. This approach to a profession is a matter of being fortunate. Although I would add, along with luck, it is a mindset and proper life planning beginning from childhood. This would describe Tabrez Noorani's path in life. He was born in Mumbai, India, in a family of film artists. His mother, Sartaj Jahan Noorani, a beautiful and cultured lady, worked as an art director in many movies throughout her career. His father, Mohammed Noorani, owned a machinery consultancy company that would advise other companies to get machinery to make rubber producers in India. For Tabrez, this was a first glimpse into the producing world, about which little did he know that he was destined for big awards in the future. Tabrez was in front of camera starting at an early age, participating in lots of advertisements and films. Working with his well-known uncle, advertising and documentary filmmaker Zafar Hai, Tabrez realized that he liked being behind the camera. He started working as a production assistant for his uncle's movies while he was still in high school. Tabrez since then has been forging his future every day with his hard work and passion. Tabrez fell in love with America long before he came to this country. In 1991, he moved to Los Angeles to study filmmaking at Loyola Marymount University. As a talented student, he won the Best Experimental Student Film Award at the Venice Film Festival for his first film, Disturbance, in 1993. And he has been winning ever since. His works as a producer for Life of Pi, Slumdog Millionaire, Zero Dark 30 were awarded several film festival and Academy Awards. Tabrez is India's man in Hollywood. As an India segment producer, he can be seen in movies ranging from Oliver Stone's Alexander, Ryan Murphy's Eat, Pray, Love, Lasse Hallström's The 100-Foot Journey, and these are just a few among many. His latest film, Love, Sonia, a film about child sex trafficking from India, shook the world with a gentle touch. Tabrez and his crew's hard and dangerous work was truly a heroic act. It increased viewers' awareness and influenced countries to change their trafficking laws. His hard work saved many children from an appalling destiny. Today he has two homelands, America and India. He serves as a bridge for developing cultural and business relationships between these two great countries. Tabrez is a man who delivers results, changes the world for the better, and makes a difference. I have the privilege to introduce the film director and producer, true leader, and a great man, Tabrez Noorani. A love for films runs in your family, starting from your mother and uncle, and you are in front of camera since your childhood. Do you agree that starting profession starts from the early age?
Yeah, I think that when you're around it from a very young age, obviously it becomes intriguing, it becomes very normal. It's what you see, it becomes very comfortable. You get very curious. In my case, it worked in the opposite way. I mean, initially I was in front of the camera as a kid, doing commercials as like a child model. One commercial where I had to drink repeatedly glasses of milk for a take. And I remember going back home and I hated the lights and the makeup and I was done. I told my parents I never want to do it again. And that was it. I never wanted to be in front of the camera again. I just didn't, it wasn't fun for me. It was a job and I didn't like it. And then my uncle, who was a very big filmmaker on documentaries and commercials, I started working with him behind the camera. So at the age of 14, I was on a movie set. I was a PA. And for me, that's when it all started.
So in other words, you had a talent right from the beginning to be a director. So you already chose your profession when you were 8 years old.
I had a passion. I don't know if I had the talent. I had a passion. I was interested in it because of my uncle. And because he went to Oxford and he studied with Michael York and all these people. And he had all these old magazines about Los Angeles and Hollywood. And I would read them. And I became obsessed.
Right, and I can imagine your time spent with your uncle, such a valuable time
Absolutely.
That was, and every moment now you appreciate.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And now we have projects that we're doing together with my uncle. And this wasn't Bollywood. It wasn't Bollywood. It had nothing to do with Bollywood. It was about, because of the way that he was brought up and with the people that he went to school with, it was a lot of Hollywood people. And that's what interested me, was just to come over here.
In 2018, God used you to make a very powerful film called Love, Sonia. This is about the subject which is very sore and sensitive for all of us. It's about children's sex trafficking. And the story behind this is very interesting, that you start researching this subject 15 years, and then you start working with NGOs, non-governmental organizations, as an undercover agent. And what did you discover? How was your experience to be this?
I mean, it was all accidental. Initially, I had been producing a lot, line producing a lot, directing commercials, and we had just started the journey with my writer on working on a screenplay, and one of the stories had to do about sex trafficking. And ironically, at the same time, I, by accident, stumbled upon a story about a girl who'd been trafficked from India. She was found in a container yard in Long Beach, in Los Angeles. And to me, that was eye-opening because it made no sense. What is a girl from India doing in LA in a container? How is she trafficked? How does this happen? Who does this? And to me, that was the beginning. She was rescued from the container. There were 7 girls and 4 of the girls were dead and 3 girls were alive. In LA, yeah. But this is how they used to transport them. I mean, who knows, maybe they still do. The reason being is only millions and millions of containers come to Long Beach Harbor every year. Only 4% of them are checked. Only 4%. Now the irony is, in the movie, we actually do show the container being checked. They have an X-ray machine. It's very simple. It's just a little scanner, and the container moves across, and they see the image of what's inside.
Clear.
But why do we only assume that corruption is only in India, in Asia? Why? It's everywhere. Whenever someone is caught or rescued, the police will first contact someone at an NGO. Because especially 10 years ago, they didn't know what to do. There wasn't LAPD didn't have a sex trafficking task force. Now they do. But back then, they contacted an NGO called CAST, the Coalition to Abolish Slavery and Trafficking. And K. Buck was the CEO and is still the CEO. And that's how I first met her. At the same time, I was doing a movie. One of the stories had to do a little bit about sex trafficking. So initially, when I got called in and I met her, I just had questions about the process. How does this happen? Why does it happen? It made no sense to me. Why would an Indian girl or an Asian girl land up in LA? Who pays for it? How does it happen? And through that, I started learning more and more about the process, and I started working with the NGO. And slowly I just got sucked in. I got more and more involved with them. Then I got involved with another NGO called Apne Aap, that's out of New York and India. And another one locally in Bombay, where we were shooting Slumdog. And slowly I would go undercover, start going undercover to rescue the girls, because they needed some type of guise. So this way we were scouting locations, and I could get in and out, and that's how this all started. And then, eventually it was 8-9 years later, and through all the stories of the girls we rescued came the story of Love Sonia.
As I heard that mob trying to stop you from making this film, and what was your experience?
So it's very tricky when you're shooting in India. It's very tricky. There's a bit of give and take, and so I shot in. Even though obviously we built a very real set, we shot in a lot of real brothels. In India, a lot of the brothels or the red light districts are run by mafia, so you just have to be very careful. And while we're making the movie and word gets out and you're shooting in those areas, they don't like it, because they feel like the movie is being done about them. They're not able to understand that it's make-believe. The fact that you're there with people and with foreigners, it gets them scared, and so they threaten you. I mean, at one point we were shooting and they started to snatch the camera away and try and break the camera. But this is what happens. We were lucky to get out, and we got the actress. We put her in a car and drove her off, but for that night we couldn't shoot. Everyone was scared. Because India has that, it's that mob mentality. So suddenly, when there's a lot of people, the cops will disappear.
How difficult was to film this movie in terms of funding because of the subject?
Oh, it was, the truth, it was almost impossible. It was impossible to get money. I had done lots of big films, but all those people who had done the movies for, you go to them, you go to Participant, you go to all these, and they suddenly look at the script and say, okay, hang on, let's make the activist American and put an American actor in there. And they wanted to change it. And I said, no, you can't change it. This is real. Yeah, it's not possible to have the activist be American, because he'll never get close to the girl. So it took, I was looking to make the movie from 2009 or 10. And then after I did Life of Pi with David. David was the main producer on Life of Pi. And then David came on. And after he came on, it must have been 3 years until we finally found this amazing Chinese woman who ran a film fund.
I first got the script through Richard Huang. I found it very interesting. So during my stay in LA, I made a request to meet with the producers.
And said that she loved the story and she loved that it was, you know, all women based and all based on reality, and she wanted to fund it. So we got $3 million to make the movie, and obviously it looks much larger, but that's what we got, and it was very difficult. But yeah, we got the $3 million from her, and we went out and made the movie.
That's wonderful. God bless her.
Yeah. Well, in this case, I had, there was David, who was, once I started directing the film, I tried to not produce anymore because I had to direct the film. So David was on the ground. Obviously, we had our local, we had my company producing, and my partners were there. So there was a lot of us, and we're used to this. I mean, it happened during Zero Dark 30. It happened during Slumdog. Things happen during Life of Pi. It's just the way it is. So in this case, yes, we were slightly more scared or worried because you had a young actress, and you had lots of people on the ground, so it was dangerous. So we just, at that point, there's only one thing that's important, is just protect everyone, get them safe, and that was it.
I think all of us, when we're faced with some of the biggest challenges we have in life, find ourselves at those moments being able to rise to the occasion, to save our families, to save our sisters, to save our siblings. And a story this strong, with this much passion, just needed to be told.
Your films are very emotional. It changes you, it makes you more experienced. It is like a win the battle with non-violence. It reminds me of the great Indian leaders' method, great Mahatma Gandhi, that overcome violence without violence. We need more films like this, because today it's a very few directors who take this step, and you are one of them. So that's really big accomplishment. What kind of a positive or realistic change your film brought?
So I think it's very difficult to kind of pinpoint it, but we had screenings all over the world. We screened at the UN in New York, in Vienna, we screened in Tbilisi, in Kazakhstan, in London, in Melbourne, obviously all over India. We opened the movie, we did something that nobody would do on a movie like ours, with a subject matter like ours, knowing that no one would really go see it in India. We opened on a couple of thousand screens, which is unheard of. And the whole idea was to make a point, to get people to go see the film. But we screened in Kazakhstan, for example. Apparently the president wrote a presidential decree changing the trafficking laws based on the screening. So the minute it has an impact like that, you know that the movie is doing its work. And if it saves 1 or 2 girls, job is done, finished. The value of human life. But the fact that you can, and now with being sent out, SC Johnson supported, which is a big American company, supported our US release and our Golden Globes run and the Oscar run. And what they did was interesting because they wanted to go out to every single Ivy League university in the United States. Women's studies, to have people see it in college, in schools. And then those particular clubs took it to villages in Mexico, in India, in El Salvador, and they screened it almost as a warning, as a lesson that this is what you should be looking out to. And so for me, that's huge. Because if that can help boys and girls at a young age, and at least they see it and they acknowledge it, they know what to look out for. So I really do believe that the movie has helped people, has saved girls, and I believe that it'll save a lot more.
So in other words, you won the battle without violence.
Well, I think the battle is still being fought, unfortunately.
It's still going. But
28 million slaves, technically, forced slavery in the world. That's massive. So it's a uphill battle, but I think that you can't do enough. And the more people that make a noise, whether it's in movies or art or music, the better.
How old you were when you came to America?
I was 18 years old when I first got here.
Oh, you went to film school. How was your experience?
It was fantastic. I mean, one of the first people that I met that first weekend working on a short film is one of the writers on Love, Sonia. So it's about the relationships that you make in film school. And for me, I just wanted to work when I got here.
What is different about making film in India versus America?
In India, it's off the cuff. Everything is unexpected. You can have a permit for everything, and on the day, everything can change. Just because of the culture and the people in the area when you're shooting on location. Over here, everything is very structured. And I have to say, I enjoy both. I love going back and shooting, and I love the fact that you just have to be on your toes non-stop, because you never know what's going to change. And over there, it's about, relationships and cops and how you massage it, absolutely. And over here, it's structured, which is great. When you're doing big set pieces, more discipline, and it's got a structure because it's more of a business, the machinery is set in place. And so I have to say, I like it at both places.
It is very difficult for foreign directors, foreign filmmakers to make movies here. And I have many friends who dream about to come to America and do film here. What is a step need to take to achieve this dream?
You have to make movies about something that you really care about or that you know about. And so that would be my advice, is just to stick to that, because otherwise it's just not the same. It's not the same. There's not enough passion. Some people are obsessed about being here and making films here, and that's fantastic. But for me, I don't know. I mean, the next stuff that I make, that I might be directing, is going to be in India and in the UK. But it'll be American, so it makes a difference where you're making it. And now with the world becoming so small, it's about telling global stories. As long as you feel like the story you want to tell is going to be seen by everyone, I think that's more important.
Because we make movies for world, we don't make for...
Exactly, for ourselves, yeah.
You produced many films. Several of them took the Oscars. For example, it was Life of Pi and Slumdog Millionaire. And tell me, what is a feeling is to be a winner? And when they first announced and when you heard the Oscar goes to, and how was that feeling? Describe. So
it's a very... those were dream days. They were very real. I was a line producer on Slumdog, and at that point, I think it's in a once in a lifetime experience to even be part of movies like that will win 8 or nominated for 10 Oscars. It's never going to happen again, realistically. It happened too quick. It was magical and surreal, and you don't register it, and you turn around and all your fellow people that you worked with are holding Oscars. It's amazing. It's wonderful. But 3-4 years go by, and yes, people, it helps you in the industry. It means a lot, but it also means nothing, because you go on. It's about what's next, what's going to happen. You're remembered for what you do next. And yes, it helps because he was the whatever on this movie that won these awards. But at the end of the day, it's about just continuing to make movies. And do something that matters.
Anything changed in your life after those awards?
Yeah, of course. After that, everyone gets to know you slightly more because they've seen you and they know what you've been involved in. So immediately, on the other films going to India, immediately we get the call and we get hired. And I think right after that, we did Life of Pi and Eat, Pray, Love and Zero Dark 30. It was non-stop. So yeah, it definitely makes a difference. And then when you try and make my movie, it makes a difference that you were involved in movies like that. So yeah, it definitely makes a difference, but it only makes a difference for the first step to get you in the door. And after that, it's the same old thing, because regardless of those movies, there weren't people lining up to put money in Love, Sonia, because it was not a commercial movie. It's a movie about sex trafficking in an Indian language, but technically with no stars, at least at that point. And that's kind of the way the industry is.
What are the characteristics of the successful director and producer?
Oh, wow. Well, first, what is a successful producer director? But then, is it someone who just continuously works and does what he or she wants to do? Or is it someone who makes movies that make lots of money? I think the characteristics would be someone who's disciplined, passionate, and honest. And I think that if you have those characteristics, in my world, you'd be a successful producer or director. But also have the ability to actually make movies, you know?
Yeah. Also, I'm thinking that be a producer is a very tough job.
Yeah.
And you gotta be very strong. You gotta have a very strong mind and a little bit tough guy to go and push it. Is that true?
Yes, it's true. I mean, film, a week before I started directing, David said, okay, now enough, like no more producing, and I just turned that off. And I directed the film, and he produced it. And he's a very good producer. But yes, you have to be very, very tough and real. And that's the way we got the movie made.
And on your set, you have a very pleasant environment, very upbeat, very feel-good environment you keep for you of the picture.
So on a film like mine, I mean, in general, no matter how serious the subject matter is, by nature, you know, I joke a lot and I make people very comfortable. And on a film like ours, you have to have it be like that, because otherwise it would be disaster. With such dark subject matter, you needed to lighten the mood. So we needed to keep the mood light all the time on the set, and we did, and that's why we were able to do a movie like this, because otherwise it would just be hell. It's new experience,
right?
But her first
not
film,
in a movie, yeah.
And you know, she was shooting stuff. She came from a very conservative background, so the stuff we were shooting was just out there for her. And if we didn't keep the mood light and just the energy, it wouldn't have been like that.
Yeah, that was a wonderful cast. I cannot forget her eyes.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Just eyes playing. So,
and now she's become a very big star in India.
This is a Love Sonia. And I'd like to tell our viewers to watch this wonderful movie. This is a must-see movie for everybody because it makes you act, it changes your life, and it's a statement. And it really wonderful job Tabrez did there and whole crew. You have a very humane approach to everything, even in this movie, although it's very harsh and dark subject, but you still do that very gently, very gentle to audience, you know, and I can tell from where it's coming from. Tell me your experience with Mother Teresa.
When I was in high school, we had to all join a club. There was the ROTC, Boy Scouts, so there was a club called the Interact Club, and the club was about social work and social service. And on every Sunday, we had to go and volunteer at a home. What I didn't know is that the home was run by Mother Teresa. It's a brilliant concept. It was a home called Ashadan. Half of it was orphans, and half of it was old people's home. So the orphans took care of the old people, and then we would teach the orphans English or teach them something. So I went like literally after 4 years from working in the home to being in charge of the home, and on the third year, and it was run by Mother Teresa. And when Mother would come and visit, and the first time I met her, I mean, you'll never forget this because her touch is just amazing. It's soft and soothing, and so that was my experience with her.
And what is your next project?
Wow, there's a few. We have no idea what's going to go first. One is a mini-series about a woman who ran the oil industry in LA in the early 1900s. A fantastic story, strong woman that no one knows about, who literally shaped the way kind of LA was. LA became what it was in the early 1900s. Then there's a series about these two Indian-Canadian girls and what happened to them. It's a real life story. Then there's another film, so we have no idea what's going to go first. But the subjects are varying, countries are varying. Some are LA-based, early 1900s. A series that I'm doing take place in India, and then the other series is India, Canada, Europe. So, especially now with the strike, we have no idea what's going to happen.
I enjoy every moment of this interview, and I wish you luck, and God blesses you with your endeavors, and you are making very good movies, and you make a difference.
Thank you so much.
So thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.